Whiskey 9 Yankee, 7 November Golf, over.
Whiskey 9 go.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo.
Negative Alpha Bravo.
And this is 7 November Golf, Roger. Request you check your Romeo side. I'll go ahead and check my Tango side. 7 November Golf out.
November 8-5,
And 8-5, 7 November, say again.
Roger, I sent you in at 10 back 30 minutes before I come up on the
7 November, go.
I copied a while ago, one Charlie transmission that my thing used, November Golf, one Charlie Echo.
And 8-5, this is 7 November, Charlie.
8-5 right now.
Now 1 Charlie, 7 November, go.
This is one Charlie, welcome to your lines. You're bringing what you get into Pact Act, 1200 between teams and local. Also request 3 units take inbound Nexus to see if we can try to get Whiskey 9 and 8 for Pond. This is the playground.
And this is 7 November, Roger, stand by.
Got that.
Got it? Alright. And all units, this is 7 November Golf. My unit Alpha, Echo, X-ray Alpha, Alpha in there.
One Charlie, Alpha Bravo.
Yeah, I never took a dip. I forgot to take a dip.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo. Whiskey 9 Yankee, 7 November Golf, over.
This is Whiskey 9 go.
Whiskey 9, 7 November, interrogative Alpha Bravo.
We are live again, myself and Jackie. I just call you Jackie the CMP examiner. I don't know if you want like another superhero name, but Jackie the CMP examiner is pretty cool. And then we have in the middle the anonymous Raider HQ After Dark. And yeah,
Hello.
Jackie actually requested this live, which is pretty cool. And we're going to answer some questions here. We're probably going to yap a lot. We're definitely yappers. And what's really cool about this stream, I think, in my opinion, is you have the veteran viewpoint from some white guy in his basement. That's me. You have the Raider viewpoint, and then you have the CMP examiner viewpoint. And so I don't think there's a better trio to start answering questions when it comes to VA disability compensation. So we're just going to kick this off. Hi, everyone. So thank you for joining as a member. And I do believe these are on your channel, Raider HQ. You have Jim and Chris Red as new members. Jackie, are you pushing this to your channel?
I don't know.
I saw you have a YouTube channel. I know.
I don't know how to do that. Yeah, like I'm not a YouTuber, so we'll learn it next time. We'll do it.
You focus your time on
I'm a TikToker.
The TikToks, okay? I like to put an S on it. And ATC says, hi, I made it. Yeah, well, welcome. Okay, let's answer some questions here because I got a feeling we're going to yap a lot. This first question, anyone know how long ACE typically takes? I love answering questions like these, but I'm just going to pass it to Raider HQ first.
I hate these
That's
questions.
a very weird way to put it because ACE refers to acceptable clinical evidence, right? And that references an examination. So you have different phases. So that would fall in the development phase of your claim. So as long as it takes to get your evidence gathered, so however long that takes, however long it takes to get assigned to a regional office, however long it takes to get the exam request sent, and then tag Jackie, you're it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really, ACE exams should not take long at all because they're not. So usually whenever the exam gets to the vendor side, they have to find a person to send it to, right? So you have to, depending on your area or whatever, it could take a week or so to get you on somebody's schedule, 2 weeks. With an ACE exam, you can get sent anywhere. So really it's just first come, first serve. So really the next day, and that examiner should have about a day-ish. Those are usually easy to fill out. So like usually like a day or two to send back. And then after that, it's kind of back to them. But on our end, usually 1-2 days, but does it happen that way? That's how it should happen.
Yeah, and I assume the reason this question is asked, just like any other timeline question, is when my claim's going to get back. That's what you're really asking. There's not a single person on this planet, not even your accredited service officer with VBMS access, that can give you an accurate date. And my advice is to always just not check the status of your claim, because I know the next question is going to be like, I was in step 8 and now I'm in step 5 and I went to step 30. I'm telling you, that means nothing to you at all. You can't do anything about it. So I would focus on things that you can control. And that's it. And to be honest with you, with an ACE, there ain't much you can control anyways, unless you're going to be included on that exam, which is kind of case by case. But yeah.
I have a question pertaining to this. I guess this would be like a rater question, but say the examiner doesn't call the veteran, and they should have, because technically if you haven't had anything in the last 6 months, I believe is what they give us. Like if we haven't had any new records in the last 6 months of that condition, that we need to call them to verify all of the information or just get new updated information. What happens if the examiner doesn't call them? Because I get that question all the time. Can they say something about it?
So like logistically, let's say that the scheduling process doesn't move forward due to some kind of barrier or challenge with that. What would happen is the claim gets default kicked back to the national work queue, and then it can get kicked back to a regional office, at which point in time a VSR is going to be the one that reviews it and kind of sees, okay, what's the challenge here? Now, a lot of the times what happens is they'll review to see if the veteran missed the exam, if they no-showed the exam, or if there was just a scheduling issue. If they no-showed the exam, then there'd have to be a good cause review, in which the VSR would have to determine if the missed appointment was due to, hey, look, I didn't want to go because of 30 CFR 3.159, type thing where you get that pushback, or is it, hey, look, my car broke down? And if that's the case, then they'll reschedule the examination, and then it gets kind of batted back to the examiner. So I don't know if that's a good answer, guys.
Yeah, it is. I think they just always have that question because they're like, they get a paper in the mail that says that they may or may not call you. So they're always waiting on that call. And then when they don't get the call, they're like, wait, did they even do it? Or what did they do? So they're always very confused because there's not a lot of communication on that end. So I think that kind of sums it up a little bit.
All righty. So this one is a little personal. And Raider, I know you've shared about your migraines. That's why I think I feel comfortable putting this up. Says, does anyone know of any new medication, I guess new to you, just to kind of personalize that helps with migraines? I've been on 5 different older meds so far, no help. I'll tell you my personal regimen, right? This is all prescription. I use GammaCore. There's a partnership there, but I also use it for my own health, just food for thought. But I'm not going to, miss a chance to highlight GammaCore. Go get yours by the VA. Anyways, I use GammaCore, which is non-invasive, like a nerve stimulator, twice in the morning, twice in the evening. I have a nightly medication. I think it's called amitriptyline. It is beautiful. It helps me sleep, and that helps with mood, and a lot of mental health stuff stems like secondary from that. There's a lot of benefits from that as well. And then my rescue medication starts with a U. I forgot what it's called. I just got on that yes. And this is the only medicine I've ever taken that when I take it, it doesn't knock me out completely. Like I've been on triptans, I've been on all of them. Yeah. And if I take one, I'm telling you, I am knocked out. And if I got 4 kids, so when 2 p.m. rolls around, I can't take it. I'm just going to sit there and deal with it. So that's my personal regimen. I will say, and I'll pass it to Raider HQ here in a sec, but I will say, don't do what we say. You should talk to your healthcare provider, right? Your primary. I assume you're talking to a neurologist. That should be your source of information there. But Raider HQ, I don't know if you want to share your regimen. I just know you've been open about migraines before.
I've been dialed in for a number of years now.
I shouldn't drink a Coke, by the way, but sorry.
I take a triptane type thing, but I also have this really weird thing because I'm kind of weird where I eat spicy foods, like a very spicy food. I don't know why, but it just seems to help with dilating my blood vessels or whatever. It just or opening them up, I guess. I don't know. But I have a medicine that I'm on that I've been on for a number of years, and it helps as much as it helps, you know, because there's never anything that in my experience that I've had that they're as managed as they can be, I guess.
Yeah. Got to get on that gamma core, homie. Anyways, that's a shameless plug. You know, you can't fault me
You want
for
to drop
that.
it like it's hot. Okay.
I have a question for you, Jackie. What do you want to see? I already know Rader's answer, and I know my answer to this. I want your CMP answer. What do you want to see evidence-wise from a veteran when you're completing a migraine headache DBQ?
So just based off of the instruction that we have, so like I try to separate, whenever I first started doing these exams, it was really hard for me. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize, is that it's doing actual like patient care. So like family medicine or whatever, versus these exams. Our mindset and framing has to come from two totally different aspects. So when I first started doing these exams, it was very hard for me to get out of that like treatment mode mindset. And so I was looking at medications, I was looking at all of those types of things, but the guidance that we get from really the VA in general is just looking at, you know, is there a history of it, obviously, but then from their point of view, because it clearly states on the DBQ that we can take their word for it. So like if they state X, Y, and Z, that is what it is, because pain is what it is. So like that's really what I look for. Do I like to have like chronicity? Do I like to have evidence of you taking medications or what have you? Yes. However, for me personally, I care more about if you're able to explain those things to me during the exam, more so than your evidence of like chronic medication use or high, you know, dosage of medication use, having to change different medications. Like that's not really part of our like our decision-making process per VBA. But that's just kind of how I go on it. But
does it make it easier if the words out of the veteran's mouth line up with the evidence that's given, like with the historical, like I'm prescribed this, whatever, and then they're able to articulate their symptoms, and you can kind of line it up and be like, yep, easy. Or do you prefer one over the other?
I mean, it would be amazing if it all lined up, but that's not real life. That's like, that would be, I mean,
veterans seeking healthcare is rare these days. So
correct. So like that was something that I had to really get used to be like, you know, like just let that out of your head. They're not going to be going to the doctor every 6 months and having their follow-ups and all that other stuff. Like, you know, you have to get that out of your head. That's a perfect world. And obviously it's not a perfect world whenever you're in this situation. So you just kind of have to follow the guidelines. That's really what I look for. That's my biggest thing. But migraine logs, and I said this yesterday on Raiders Live, it was the biggest thing is you can't just put down every single time that you had a migraine. You need to put down all of those specific factors. So like, you can't just say I had a prostrating migraine on this day. I need you to like actually be specific and like talk about the severity, the functional impact, the functional loss of it each time on that migraine log, because that'll actually like back you up too. Documentation purposes, that's kind of where I come from with it.
Man, Raider, there's people having entire lifelong conversations on your channel. I'm trying to scroll past and get to a question.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Do you have anything to add to that from a VSR or VSR perspective?
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that. So the same way that Jackie likes to look and have the information hopefully be corroborated by the medical evidence, we do the same thing with the conclusions of the examiner. If the examiner makes a conclusion, they're like, hey, look, the veteran had this symptom here. I've got to find and corroborate that with some kind of evidence, right? So it has to be somewhere. One of the biggest divergence between raters and examiners is whenever the examiner says something or makes an inference of something and I can't corroborate it, that's where you lose me. That's where you lose all the raters. And that's where oftentimes we have to defer back and go, hey, look, can you tell me where you identified that symptom? Because you're referencing something in the past tense. How did you get there? Where did you see that? Is that just you're just taking the veteran's subjective statements? I need objective statements. I need objective evidence. I need diagnostic tests. I need something. Where are you getting that from? And that's oftentimes where we do the same thing, but just based upon how the examiners do it.
Yeah. And I will say I think over time, examiners have like swapped the way and kind of gone back and forth on the way that we do things, switch things up. Like, so we'll have some raters that will send things back because the veteran said something in their history, like the part, like the free text part where we're saying, you know, he has this amount of, like if he says that, we have to write it, right? So like prostrating headaches or blah, blah, blah. But like if it doesn't actually corroborate with the objective evidence that we have, do we check the 2 boxes for prostrating migraines? Do we just listen to what they say? Because then you'll like send it back. So it's always like a hit or miss, like a catch-22 and a balance between like what we're going to get, because it's very inconsistent across the board. That's just my personal experience with it. I, again, would love to have both. Their subjective reporting and objective findings in their stuff, but that doesn't happen. So it's kind of hard to decide when we can and cannot just write down what they say. But I don't know if you have like guidance for that. That'd be great for all examiners.
Evidence always wins is always my guidance. Always.
Unless they are proven otherwise, they are, I mean, supposed to be taken as credible, right? So then how do you, when do you choose? No?
I disagree with that. Like, no,
Okay.
no, like statements made by a person, like, I have cancer.
Well, yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, no, but okay. So that is not a step too far, right? So like everybody agrees that you have to prove to me that that I have cancer, right? Like I can't just walk into a CMP and go, I have cancer. I need that 100%. You just hit me up with that. Okay.
That's different. Pain is different. That's what I mean. So like pain is subjective. Like I can't just tell you, prove to me you have pain versus cancer. That's what I meant.
So, but pain is the one where we can take the veteran at face value. But there are other things like limited range of motion have to be objectively, you know, we have to see and determine whether or not there's malingering involved or, you know, or something like that. But oftentimes where I nearly throw a clot is like, I will sit here and see like for mental health is my weakness, you know, and obviously, but it's where it's like, I know, but like you'll see somebody like, let's do it with something else. I have back strain, but I have zeros on my range of motion. Is there not a better diagnosis that you can give that human being other than back strain if they have 0 range of motion? I mean, ankylosis comes to mind, you know, like those are the DBQs. Like if you want to talk about what grinds the rater's gears,
that grinds too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like when you have like, I know that the TheCivDiv was talking about, you know, fraud and whatnot. That's been, he was watching that thing and there was these fraud things where you start to go, what the heck, is when you start seeing I have minor back strain and I have zeros across the board. My first question when I defer it back is, can we please get the make and model of the car that hit the veteran between the last time that they had an exam? They had full range of motion. Now they have 0 range of motion. What make and model hit them? Was it a train maybe? You know, did they fall from the sky? Like, can you help me out with this?
We can see a whole different direction with that one. And I can tell you why that is. It's literally the misconception of the stop at the pain part that everybody.
Yeah, people, I can't stand when I hear a YouTuber be like, when you get pain, stop. And it's like, well, how that's interpreted is I'm going to move as little as possible. And CMP examiners aren't stupid. Okay, Jackie? Yeah. CMP examiners are not stupid.
They don't understand. So like, let's just kind of like reel back a little bit and we'll just kind of like discuss it real fast. So like, if you look at, anybody pulls up and you could pull up like the DBQ, if you pull up the DBQ, there's multiple different range of motion measurements that we are supposed to mark down and measure. So you start off with active range of motion. That is your actual range of motion from start to finish. Like how far can you go? It's not where do I stop with the pain? Now, there is another one right underneath that where it says, is there any other additional factors that, you know, come into play? So like say pain, if I'm stopping at pain, then I would mark pain or weakness, any of those. There's a few of them. And then I would actually mark which, measurement stop at which point did you stop at that pain mark. Then there's a passive range of motion as well. So like active, passive versus, it's like there's multiple different, range of motion measurements that we have to take. So like on top of that flare-ups, extenuated use, like all of these different things that they think it's just one range of motion, but really that's only one part of like 6 different ones that you need to be doing during the exam. And I think that huge misconception has made and, kind of ended up causing this issue where they go from 120 on their forward flexion to 40. And it's not because of that, it's because they're stopping at pain.
Yeah, and veterans will, man, I'm going to get some hate for this, but I don't care. Veterans will take that stop at pain and just go full throttle on what I would label as exaggeration, right?
The toddler fall.
And then all of a sudden, people like Lieutenant Colonel retired Daniel Gage got an argument because people are stopping at pain and you're moving like 2 inches. And it's like, guy, like, don't be stupid. Like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? Really makes me mad.
I mean, I use the splits analogy, where you can clearly, whenever, like, let's use a geriatric male, and have them try to do the splits. There's a physical stopping point to where the tendons, ligaments, muscles will not go any further due to the impairment of range of motion. Mm-hmm. The onset of pain is 10%. That's all it is. When you get to pain, that's 10%. Range of motion is a separate category of things. And for the rater's perspective, it has to kind of sometimes make sense as to why we're limiting the range of motion, because the diagnosis has to you're dealing with mostly it's got to make sense to some degree, but not to me. It has to make sense to the examiner, and the examiner has to telegraph that to me. You have to tell me why that person can only move 0 degrees. And is there not a better, because we see it every day. We see, okay, this person has ankylosis. They've got spondylosis of the spine. They've got all this stuff going on, degenerative disc, IVDS. They've got it all, right? Like they've hit bingo on the back injury thing. Mm-hmm. Then you got this person that's even worse off than them. 0 range of motion across the board. Basically a 2x4. They got to be gurneyed everywhere they go. Lumbosacral strain. Makes no sense.
We got a few questions. We have super chats that we need to get through. Okay.
All right.
So first, Bobby D's, one of my favorite people from the channel, longtime fan, says, I received paperwork, all these VA forms here because my daughter will turn 18, but will still be in high school. Which paperwork do I fill out? So she's 100% P&T. Obviously, we're talking about the dependent status here. Bobby D's, I would just call the VA. All right? Anything dependent related, whether you're submitting for a dependent, this especially, because back pay is going to bite you in the butt if you don't. Just call the VA. Don't worry about the forms. Call the VA itself, and you can just do it over the phone. I promise you that's the easiest way. Did you want to add anything to that, Raider?
I don't off the top of my head, just because it's out, like that's the authorizer zone. Like that's a non-rating question. I mean, I could look it up real quick, but it's better if it comes from them. Yeah. Calling
the VA is just the right thing to do. Now, if you don't do this and you receive dependent pay for, let's say, 10 years, the VA is going to recoup every single dollar of that, just to let you know it happens all the time. Thank you for the super chat here. Let me find your question. Here it is. I have a question. I just filed for a total knee replacement last week. Surgery was on January 21st. I've been hospitalized since January 30th for suspected joint sepsis. Had surgery today to clean out the joint. My question is, this is another one. Would this be an additional claim or just add to the joint replacement claim?
Be an additional claim for the temporary total 100% knee replacement, because they cannot do a DBQ on a knee that's that fresh, because we don't know what a permanent permanent residuals are going to look like versus normal surgical residuals where you have limited range of motion, painful range of motion that are just part of that. So you can do a claim on a 526EZ or through va.gov and submit the evidence of the surgery with your claim and tell them that you've had a total knee replacement. Now, if you're 100% already, there's no value added to this other than to potentially get you SMC S1 if that's a thing. But yeah, that's how you go about doing that.
Yeah. And if you're not, you're looking at a minimum 30 for a total knee replacement, which is a it sucks you had a knee replacement, but it's a solid
Yeah.
rating for a knee.
5 months.
Well,
Yeah,
what?
you'll get 5 months of temporary 100%, and then the 30 minimum, depending on.
All right, I'm trying to roll through these because we're
ahead.
a little bit backed up on here. So what is the best mechanism to deal with internal inconsistencies in the migraine DBQ from CMP examiner narratives? Describe more than 5. I had to, let's say more than whatever. 5 severely prostrating per month, but check the boxes saying 4 Bravo 1 in 2 months. I will tell you my personal experience. It's anecdotal. Just take that with a grain of salt. Almost the same thing happened to me, where migraine headaches came back, service connected, but at 0% with a mountain of evidence. Don't even get me started on CMP examiners. It's not your fault, Jackie. It's okay. But this particular CMP exam really sucked. The examiner was just terrible. Even in like normal day-to-day mannerisms, they were miserable. And this was my second time seeing them. Anyways, did a higher level review, and because I had the clear objective evidence, which is key there, the HLR, the reviewer in 8 days, granted that at 50%, boom, granted, no worries whatsoever. The issue is, and this is why I always say evidence always wins, is what happens when it's just your word versus the DBQ. And I'm telling you right now that DBQ is going to win every time.
Yes,
So,
that's what I was going to ask. It's like, first off, what evidence did you have to corroborate for the 4B? Because 4B is severe, like it's ongoing prostrate. It's not just like that first level of it. So that's at economic and adaptability, or the, that higher level. What did you show them, whether it be the examiner, or what did you turn in to corroborate that level of severity? That would be the question that I would ask to be able to back up and go against what the examiner did put on there. That's common.
It could be, and I know, Raider, if you can chime in on this, when it comes to economic and adaptability, the RVSR has a say in that. More of a what would you call it? Like a non-judicial say, if you will. Like what the Raider says carries weight with that economic and adaptability more so than other claims.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that this statement made by Royale with Cheese, it can both be true. So it can be true that you have less than 5 prostrating migraines. It can be true that you have 7 additional non-prostrating migraines. And it can also be true that you have 2 in 1 month completely prostrating migraines. There are different flavors of migraines. This is why the description if you were sitting in front of Jackie, you would need to make these distinctions to Jackie as to what they are. You can't just walk in and say, I have a migraine, because that leaves the door open for the CMP examiner to downgrade them to non-prostrating migraines, equals 0%. Prostrating migraines, 10 to 30, depending on frequency. Completely prostrating migraines, which is not instructions that are ever given to the examiner, mind you, which is weird. But a completely prostrating migraine is what you need for the 50% assessment. And you need the other half of that equation, which is the rater to buy in that you have external evidence showing that you have economic inadaptability, which is like they had to put dimmer switches into my, and I really wish they'd give this back to the examiners. I really do. You do not want raters making these non-medical determinations. You don't. I mean, I'm going to that military influencer conference in September, and hopefully if I can talk to Doug Collins, there's going to be some things that, it's probably fruitless, but I will ask him to change things.
Are you going as Raider HQ, or are you going as anonymous? Because that is that's going to determine whether I go or not.
I'm going as Raider HQ.
All right.
I'm just going. It'll dox me a little bit, but I don't care at this point in time. If I put out a video today just saying how frustrated I am with the advocacy for the veteran community, and rather than bitch about it, I'm going to do something about it. I guess. I don't know.
There you go.
I can just see, up next on the news,
man arrested.
The YouTuber
Oh yeah.
known as Raider HQ, and there's just your mugshot. You know,
Someone commented on my TikTok when I was live last night, and they said that they work for one of the agencies, the federal agencies, and that they know for a fact that the VA did not give me permission to do this. I was like, I don't work for the VA, and they did not give me, but like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, people are stupid.
They're crazy.
Okay, now North Idaho guy.
He said,
I didn't know Idaho. I didn't know Idaho was like segmented. I just thought it was just useless altogether. All right,
That's fine.
When can the VA ignore, disregard a VA ordered exam? In my opinion, independent medical opinion that is positive for the vet was granted, now denied, overpayment. I mean, sounds like a mistake was made and found, to be honest with you. Go ahead.
So in instances where the granting was premature, like if there were inconsistencies with the report that needed to be clarified, that's an instance. And I had spoken about this earlier, if the examiner made inferences or statements that cannot be corroborated and that it was granted, that can be a clear and unmistakable error. Where you will find a lot of these are within the first 30 to 60 days following the award, because the rater and the authorizer can have quality reviews that are done in which, they're 3 out of 100 reviews that, it just so happens that your claim got pulled and it was found that the grant was either premature or erroneous. If it's erroneous, they'll sever it. If it's premature, they'll send it for an examination and medical opinion and, double down and see. But it can happen. It's quite often what happens.
Yeah. The sad truth here is when this happens, it's not, dude, don't get mad at me. When this happens, it may not be a benefit that you've earned, right? And is what it is. So,
or it can be a situation to where the most frustrating aspect of the VA, in which personal bias of the QRT wins. They interpret the regulations of the M21-1, and if they have a disagreement, they can exercise that disagreement to the detriment of the veteran. I have been forced to do things. I've been forced to sever the conditions that have been granted for 10 years based upon a clear and unmistakable error. Now, I was told you can't do that. And I was told, well, hold my beer, because if I've done it, I've been forced to do it because the QRT system, in my opinion, is broken.
Well, that's a nice conversation to have there. Okay. I love the collab. It can only enhance all of our understanding of a very frustrating system. Thank you. Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. And I am a big time fan of having Jackie and Raider do this. This is pretty cool.
I know. I'm like, I want to pick Raider's brain. Like, I want everybody. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to ask him all the questions. Sorry, y'all. Hold questions, but
forget this white dude in his basement. He's a nobody. Okay, you need to go before congressional hearing. I don't know about all that.
I would do it.
I wouldn't do it because look, if they were interested in actually having the factual information in front of them, then they would have people there that were actually factually there. Like, nobody wants to hear an answer. They just want to, like, this, the usual suspects go to these things. This is just my opinion, but the usual suspects go to these things. They all glad hand each other. They all go to lunch. They all have their little talks. And then they come back confused again why the impossible is yet once again reared its ugly head. And now they're like, wait a minute, you mean veterans don't get to do so-and-so? Well, yeah, if you talk to frontline staff, you'd know that 6 months ago, a year ago, 10 years ago. Like, it's all a surprise to them because none of them care to find out how it really works.
And so everyone's in it.
Do that. They're like, if we try to go, would that not be a good thing to have them listen, at least, so that it is out there what's actually going on, versus just letting the bad actors continue to go?
Listen, I live about 15 minutes away from the Capitol.
Get us a seat.
Y'all can come hang out the house, and we'll go testify together if you want. My anxiety will be through the roof. Okay. Man, I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, even on the VFW. And listen, I love the VFW. I like the VFW, I should say. But even in their testimonies, they're in it for themselves. Okay, there's a stakeholder bias with veteran service organizations, and it is clear as day. I watch the hearing. I watch every hearing, which is the worst part of this job, by the way, because it's boring. But even the VFW talking about claim sharks, half the things I'm not a big fan either, but things that they said, I was like, yeah, that's a mischaracterization for sure. And they're just blowing up smoke. Anyways, everyone's in it for themselves. Yeah. Boudreaux says coffee time. That's from you, Raider, for sure. Yep. And then last super chat, and we'll get back to answering everyone else's questions. Examiner only use medical review to give you less than, like than, not. I'm just going to say word. Yeah, you guys know what he's saying.
We need some mods in here for whatever this is in the chat.
Then not, but there are reviews that state medical evidence that could give you a positive opinion, like outside studies, I suppose. Go ahead.
That's what I'm assuming. So you have to remember that everything has to be very, I guess, tailored and specific to your specific situation. So like, just because you Google search something and you come up with how one thing can lead to another, you have to actually look at that study and look at the demographics, look at the factors that all of those, study participants actually had, because you might have, let's just make something up, like PTSD or sleep apnea secondary to PTSD. Well, if your PTSD isn't rated super high, or it's not that, at a severe level, then some of those studies are not going to pertain to you, or vice versa. If you have other risk factors that study did not account for, or that study did account for, and those people that were in that study did not have those risk factors, then you don't necessarily fall in that population, that patient population that they were actually studying. So while there are other reviews that you could probably find to fit the overall narrative of whatever you're trying to service connect, it doesn't always, your puzzle piece might not actually fit in there. That makes sense.
Yeah, there's I was streaming with Dr. Sharma, who's a physician board certified psychiatrist, and he made this joke. He said something about like how doctors, they go to med school, now they're qualified to read a study. If you were like me, just a dude in his basement on the internet, on YouTube, we're not even qualified to read the study that you're attaching with your claim, let alone the VA doesn't care, by the way. I would love Raider's take on that. And so there are things in that particular study. For instance, there are studies out there that people will reference all the time. If I say PTSD does not cause sleep apnea, they'll say I'm an idiot, and they'll start referencing all these studies, let alone even take the time to read it and look at the risk factors involved in there. And Jackie, I saw your sleep apnea secondary video today. It was perfect.
I'm trying to make a bunch of videos like that so that I can just kind of show them like there are two totally different aspects.
Your Peter and Paul analogy.
Yeah, and I made another one, I think like a week or so ago, about a different situation. But I mean, it's the same thing. It just kind of, it's hard to understand if you're not medically, inclined, or just in general, just understanding all of those different factors. It's easy whenever you like say you're on ChatGPT, it's going to give you a medical, like some research study that tries to fit whatever you're looking for. But I can guarantee you, most of you don't even look up the actual study, open it and read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what the sample size was, what was the demographic, it's like people from Swahili, and I'm as white as Christmas snow, like maybe not my threshold, or I don't know.
Raider, what's your take on that? How do you
on attaching studies with your claim specifically? Oh, real quick, I wanted to say, just clear, the video you made about the sleep apnea secondary was perfect.
Oh,
it was perfect. That was to Jackie, not to you, Raider. You need to do better.
Oh,
no, I'm totally kidding.
Okay. I got you.
Otherwise, I'm like I'll sit here for hours talking about nothing.
If you haven't seen Jackie's sleep apnea secondary video on her TikTok, you need to go do that. I'll link it below in the chat here.
And I'll also post it on YouTube after we get off of here. So, go look. It's short. It's not long. People are like, videos.
So if you want to know about my opinion about studies, it depends on what we're talking about here. Like, what I I often find is with private DBQs, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. They want to do a book report for me, and they want to tell me how scientifically it's possible that sleep apnea could be caused by PTSD. Fair enough, but where they lose me and where we go into the authenticity, credibility, and sufficiency reviews, which are required for private DBQs, is when they never reference the veteran. Like you will find, especially down in Florida, there's a group of nurse practitioners down in Florida specifically, who they have this template that they keep copy and pasting just the different name of the veteran on there. And it is horrible because it's like, okay, what does it due to? Okay, it's secondary to so-and-so. Okay, why? And then they give all these studies and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but you haven't actually provided a rationale. If you go into the M21-1, there's a sufficiency criteria. There has to be a medical rationale as to why, like, how did you get to at least as likely as not? Oh, it's at least as likely as not that the, nocturnal panic attacks cause arousals, which wake the veteran up to a certain consciousness level that it turns off their automatic breathing, artificially causing them to have apnea episodes. Okay, then I'm fine with that. Okay, yes, got it. Now, does that happen with this veteran? Yes, it does, evidenced by their sleep studies, which show apneic episodes happening.
I should play my video because it literally just explains the exact same thing that you're saying. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, they're not looking at that. And I even said, well, actually, my next video is literally talking about the Nexus mills and just being careful who you are getting them from, because some of them are just rubber stamping them and just using the same templates and turning things in. So that's just me. That is my next video. So,
and all of a sudden we have a DBQ fraud hearing yesterday. So this is just good timing. Anyways.
Well, yeah, and that DBQ fraud hearing. I think that's going to be related to, because there's been rumored talk about this for about 2 years now.
Yeah.
That anybody that's 100% service connected for mental health, they're wanting, and this is just scuttlebutt, this isn't actually anything that I can back up with any kind of documents, but I think a lot of those reviews are going to be done on 100% DBQ, private DBQ mental health, because it's the most subjective.
I think it will be related to the claim company under legislation right now for allegedly committing fraud with a particular psychologist. So I think those two will go hand in hand. And I can't wait. I'm excited. I might even throw a party at my house. Who knows?
Okay.
I cannot wait.
I have empathy for all the psychological well-being of all the veterans who went through that company for that duration of time for that thing. So, I mean, I get the emphasis on that, but there's also going to be like, what do you do now? So there's going to be videos that like maybe the three of us can do together type thing where we talk about, okay, if you're one of these companies, what can you expect? What do you think that you could, have coming down the pipe? Because basically your claim, regardless of whether or not it's legitimate, is seen as fraud.
Well, and I want to be clear here. We have to wait until conviction, right? We don't want to.
Well, no, the VA does not have to, by the way. No,
the VA can do whatever they want. I'm talking about us.
Like from here on out, this is what it's going to be. I hope they don't try to retro, because I mean, that's just not. We don't even have time to do the exams that we're doing now, much less redo all. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah. So
yeah.
The thing about that piece, that lawsuit, is it's not about the other lawsuits are if they could operate or not, if claim companies can operate. That's not what this lawsuit about. This lawsuit is about defrauding the federal government, which is a whole other ball game. And the evidence alleges pretty clearly that in fact did happen. So yeah, like I said, I can't wait, and I will throw a party at the house. Anyways, we have two more super chats, three more. Ronan says, I got told that they acknowledged the exam wasn't done properly, but we don't see a need for a new exam. Here's your 10% for your ankylosis, spondylitis, herniated disc, degenerative disc disease, IHLR.
What's it?
I have my first, we're going off of this question and nothing else. That's important to understand. I can tell you, looking at what you wrote and looking at range of motion, even if it's incapacitating episodes, which is another rating schedule for the back, that's not as common. 10% seems low, just based on these diagnoses, and so something's going on that I do know. I want to hear y'all's take.
I mean, just quickly for me, but outside of a rating perspective, that examiner left off, I'm assuming I'm assuming, again, radiculopathy, that's a whole nother rating that you would have, right, left, whatever. But I mean, those are pretty extensive. What we were talking about earlier, this spondylitis, I mean, I can't see you having range of motion that would equal to 10%. That's basically pain at that point.
Like, I have 10% for my back, and I don't have all that. Let's just say this. And I also want to know who told you that. That's probably my number one question. Do you have anything, Raider?
It's probably in the rating decision that there was somebody had to fix something. Like, there was a QMS error called, but it didn't actually change anything. I do have a problem with ankylosing spondylosis. Like, I mean, I had gotten done talking about the opposite of this equation where, hey, look, he's got lumbosacral strain, he's got zero mobility. This is the opposite, where we actually have ankylosing spondylosis with full range of motion and jumping jacks. Like, I can bend over and touch my toes, like type thing. It's very weird. Higher level reviews typically are something, they're like the break glass in case of emergency thing. If you have limitation of motion, some things you should consider. Ingram v. Collins. Can you move that well because you have pain medication that allows you to have a better range of motion than normal? Was this decision decided before Ingram v. Collins went into effect? Like, there's a lot of different factors here, but I think that, you need to make sure that what is your range of motion? Go in the 38 CFR Part 4, review what it looks like. And I know that that's hard to read because they have cervical and then lumbar mixed in together, every other one. It's
weird. So annoying.
It is annoying. But I would go look at it. But yeah, I think that that's a little bit low. And if you have painful motion, you're maxed out. Like, 10% is the minimum for painful motion. So you could do a supplemental claim or a higher level review. Higher level reviews are for if they didn't do, like, if the evidence was there, but they didn't actualize it. So I don't know.
I will add to that, like, from a non-rater perspective, when it is hard for you to read that 38 CFR, you can always remember to look at your rating decision letter, because on that rating decision letter, it's going to tell you why you got 10% and what the qualifications were for you to get a higher rating. So, like, if so I usually use that because it does break it down very, like, simplistically rather than having everything jumbled together. I usually use that a lot. And then also, just because you have that ankylosing spondylitis, like, I will say that doesn't mean you're actually ankylosed at 0. You could be ankylosed at 30. But whenever you have that actual diagnosis, that's a very hard diagnosis to get. You don't just get that. So I find it very hard to believe that you don't, meet a qualification higher than that. And then also that radiculopathy I'm missing out on too, I'm very intrigued.
There's a big piece of the pie that's missing to this situation. Okay, Lance, let me do this one because it's easy. This is Killian. I assume he's trolling because he's one of my moderators. Can I ask questions too? Thank you very much, Killian. I appreciate it. He's also wicked smart when it comes to computers. So that's hilarious. Okay. Lance 23 says denial letter with favorable findings, listing each diagnosis and stating that they were secondary to my service connections. Okay. Denial stated it was due to no in-service event. What should I do now? This is just jacked up. Okay. I'm gonna fix it for you. So first, if we're looking at direct service connection, the in-service event a requirement, right? In-service event / treatment, it's a requirement, not optional. If you're looking at secondary, your military service doesn't matter. It's just a primary, right? So for instance, if your favorable finding says, hey, you are service connected for tinnitus, that just means that honestly, it means nothing. It just means that your secondary was denied. But you met one of the you satisfied one of the elements for service connection criteria. That's all it is. And so this tells me that you were probably denied twice in the same letter. Like you were denied secondary and you were denied direct, which is just a double slap in the face. And so I would look at the reason you were denied and then pick your evidence will tell you which theory of service connection you should apply under, secondary, direct, maybe aggravation, whatever. And then you gather evidence to meet the whatever element you're going for. I hope that makes sense. Raider, do you want to take that?
I mean, we don't have enough information, so we don't know what we do know that secondary was applied. Anytime that you claim something secondary, direct will automatically be, piggybacked on top of that, just because every single theory that you can get service connected for has to be included in your rating decision. The problem is you didn't say that you had a current diagnosis for the thing itself. So that you might be denied for element 1, element 3. Element 1's a current diagnosis. Element 3 is the medical nexus. You can't have a medical nexus unless you have element 1 and element 2 for whatever you're, claiming. So I say go back to the fundamentals, element 1, element 2, element 3, and then just try to strengthen your evidence for whatever theory is the most likely.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay, I think we're back on track now. All right.
Oh.
Why did the VA rater deny my lumbar supplemental claim secondary to service-connected broken leg, submitted with a private medical opinion, and the CMP examiner gave a positive, at least as likely opinion with good rationale? I don't know, Rater. Why was that denied?
Okay, so once the claim was received, the VSR reviewed the private DBQ and found it to be insufficient for either authenticity, credibility, or sufficiency, or fraud. One of those four things. There's many different variables to each one of those, at which point in time you likely got yourself a new examination in which the new examiner found that the altered gait of the broken spot, the broken leg, did not contribute or cause the diagnosis for the lumbar spine issue.
They said positive.
Well, he did say positive, but why did the VA rater deny the lumbar spine? It's because they disqualified the private DBQ. Once a DBQ has been disqualified, it has no value and is almost never sent to the new examiner to be reviewed.
But it says submitted with a private IMO, and the CNP examiner gave a positive, at least as likely as opinion. So it's saying
if the CMP examiner gave a likely medical opinion. So if we're saying that both came out positive, how can the rater overturn it? The rater can sadly overturn it if the medical providers reference something that they can't provide a rationale for. If the rater, if the examiner said, yeah, I think it's at least as likely it's not the leg caused the back, that's not good enough. We actually have to I don't care what it is, by the way. Most raters don't care what it is. You have to scientifically sell it to me, though. You have to give anything. 2 + 2 = 4. I mean, something on paper that as to the reason. Now, sometimes the examiners will go, well, I did that. And we'll go, okay, but you didn't. That you medically did that, but legally we need a little bit more from you. We need you to say evidenced by this, this, and this. So if that's the circumstance, then the rater can do that. I don't know why they would do that. That sounds like personal bias leaking into it where they don't believe it themselves and they're trying to use their power and authority to basically overcome, just to beat down that fraud. I'm a hammer, you're a nail. I would have probably granted it if I had both of them come back. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't blink an eye at that unless there was some kind of massive confliction in there. But you could potentially do a higher level review and see if the DRO, the decision review officer, and just plead your case in an informal conference and say, hey, look, I'm not a medical professional, but I believe 2 of them. I believe those 2 right there. Can I get a difference of opinion? And that's how I do it.
I'm going to answer this question, or we're all going to answer this question here in a second. But I have a question for you, Rader, not to put you on the spot. Are there?
Come on.
I'm going to frame the question for a reason. Are there rating RVSRs who have that kind of activist mindset where they're not really gatekeeping, I would say, but maybe like safeguarding benefits, and they use personal bias that they're able to justify via M21, TAC 1, and stuff like that to deny or rate veterans lower. No pressure on answering that.
Yes. I've met them. I've seen them. I have been in formal, big old conference. Like I have been in town halls where all the employees get together, and the director comes in. The director kind of like gives a quarterly mission statement of, hey, look, we're doing this. And I've had people just chime in. I mean, like, no, they don't read the room. They don't know anything. They're like, these veterans are just trying to fleece the system. These veterans are horrible. And there's a reason why some people should work from home is because, I mean, like these hands are rated E for everybody. I can't work in the office, man. I can't. Like it was so bad that some people, like you would have disagreements with people where they feel like it is their personal opinion, like their personal mission. They were hired to prevent fraud. And I'm like, okay, you weren't hired for that, but can we just get back to rating the claim, And they're like, well, yeah, but I think that this is the way it should go. And I'm like, okay, when did you get your doctor's license, man? That's awesome. Congratulations. And they're like, I didn't get my doctor's license. I'm like, then you don't have an opinion on this topic. Just go back. You're a button pusher. Like the mysticism of what the rater does is the first thing that I'm trying to kind of tear back. Data entry specialist is what the rater is primarily 95% of the time. Oh, 6 check boxes on the DBQ. Okay, I'm going to go in here to VBMS and I'm going to mash that there button 6 times. Like that's what happens. It's not I don't know.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of them on TikTok, actually. If you go on TikTok, they're very vocal about it. So
about what?
About being like basically, it's like they'll just talk about like how, they're like, I mean, I don't care what the examiner says. Like I have the last say so. So like if
they make me want to flip a desk.
Oh yeah.
Was that not a question for you, Jackie? Knowing that environment and seeing it on your platform and hearing it from Rater here, does that like when you complete a DBQ, do you put the effort in that kind of ties the rate in a manner that would say, hey, this is complete. Like this is a complete DBQ. You don't you do the full effort to give the veteran to get them service connected if they went against a rater who was not a Rater HQ.
So yeah. So whenever I first started, I was just completing them like I should, like I, direction stated, and I did to
as
complete
a CMP examiner. I know you're just
an exam.
Doing my job.
But as you do it long enough, and if you actually give a shit, I mean, you kind of learn to almost adapt. I get like it's just you kind of you watch the trends and you kind of know how things, and it's not like I'm trying to figure out how to word this because I don't want it to come off wrong, but like you have to kind of like play the system with the system almost, because like what it's like. I know that this should be service connected this way or whatever, but I don't have that ability. And if I say it this way, and mostly raters don't like it this way, but I need to change. I just learned how to, I guess, tweak it to benefit the veteran who should have been service connected in the first place, but they may have not gotten service connected otherwise. Not every examiner is like that. And also it takes a while, and you have to pay attention to the trends and dig deeper than most examiners are willing to do. And it's not their fault. Like it shouldn't be that way. That's what kind of sucks about it. So I don't know.
It's resistance. There's a resistance that's palpable. You can feel it, right? There's resistance on both sides. So sometimes I feel that from certain examiners where they're pulling for a specific outcome. And I'm like, yeah, but I need you to answer this. And they're like, I really don't want to. But there's operant conditioning and classical conditioning that has nothing to do with the medical evidence. And everybody involved, the VSR, the rater, the examiner, the DRO, everybody involved. There's a certain behind the scenes resistance, or I want to say current, that pushes everybody in a certain direction. And if you go against the current, how many times have you been smacked down, Jackie, for going against the current?
I'm doing that right now, actually.
Yeah.
Not like, right, but like, yeah.
Like what you're doing, yeah.
Not just like, not on social media. I mean, just like in real life, like I will refuse to turn in an exam when it's not done just so that I can, get my quality points up or whatever. Like then I look like the bad examiner, but really I'm not. It's more so the ones that are just turning it in as fast as they can. And then they have all the mistakes.
Yep.
That's my biggest thing is like, I will take longer on an exam. I don't like my sisters are probably in here. They work with me. They know like I'm not going to turn in an exam just because you want me to turn it in 48 hours. Like if I cannot get it done and get it done adequately and fully, then what is the point of doing that? Because either the veteran's going to suffer or they're going to prolong the time anyways, because you're just, you have to do it again. Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me, but yes, I get smacked down all the times whenever I go.
Yeah. You said something in that. So I used to teach, I was an instructor and curriculum developer and taught hundreds and hundreds of adult learners. But part of one of my classes were assessments, like how do you accurately measure something? And one of the lessons was about how making a measurement that would force a outcome. So for instance, if I grade you on speed, everything else becomes secondary, right? You may not complete that exam as fast that's on the examiner side. On the rater side, you may kick that to an exam because you get more points via kicking it to exam versus just going straight to decision. And so we have these like measurable outcomes that culturally force workers to operate a certain way. And that is exactly how the VA works. And we see that right now with tackling the backlog. Everyone wants to talk about how awesome tackling the backlog is. No one wants to talk about how 1 in 5 claims are incorrect. 1 in 5 claims don't sound that bad until you do 3 million claims. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that's at least 500,000 claims. Like that's 500,000 claims that were done not in fault of the veteran, but because the VA simply didn't do their job. So these things matter.
Yeah,
they also don't want to.
Sorry. I was just gonna quickly. I just was saying, like, if it takes me a week to complete an exam, is it really as bad as, the veteran have to push their benefit time back months, years, however long, versus that 1 week for me to just do it right the first time? Like, that's what really drives me nuts. Is that we have to see the actual veteran in front of our face whenever they come back mad because somebody got denied or something. Like, we are like front facing the veteran, whereas a lot of times the VA, sorry, no shots to you guys, but like y'all get to hide behind and just hand them a paper and they come to us and usually we're the bad guys. Like, it's the CMP examiners are stupid. We're whatever. And like, we get that bad rep, but because we're the only ones that they can actually talk directly to. And so that's why I'm number one, I just try to be a good person, but number two, like, we get the brunt of it. So I just
and veterans see examiners as the VA, whether they're contracted or not, from their viewpoint. They think the VFW is the VA, and I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I wanted to just say that the backlog thing drives me absolutely up the wall because people think that the backlog means that a claim that started out from its inception over 125 days is now in the backlog. That's not what that means. It means how long has it been sitting at the National Work Queue? If it's been sitting at the National Work Queue in one of its phases, in one of the different processes, you can have a claim that's been on the backlog 5 separate times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's what frustrates me. That's where I'm like, Doug Collins talks about like cutting the backlog. And I'm like, okay, what does that actually mean? Because you're dealing with bottlenecks, and there's some bottlenecks you cannot overcome. If a certain location doesn't have examiners, it's going to take longer for them to get scheduled, which means that their claim goes on the backlog. There's nothing like that. I don't know. It just weirds me out, but yeah.
Yeah, how the VA publicly defines the backlog and how they internally define the backlog, because we have emails of this.
Yes.
It went from 225,000 publicly to almost 1 million via internal email. And I'm like, okay, obviously we're doing what I would call selected truths as a psyoper there, but that's a little conspiracy theory. We'll kind of back off that road. Okay.
We're back. All right.
Michael says CNP, DBQ, service connected knee, intermediate step obesity, diabetes. I'll tell you right now, when you get in diabetes territory, it becomes difficult. That's just almost always the case. Is more likely than not
Deferred,
that
which is
part's
the
weird
weird.
because it's deferred. So that there's a gap there. Second DBQ, same examiner, reversing. Okay, that makes sense. How rate? So the second opinion was reversed to less likely is not, which is denied. I don't know what your question is, but can one of y'all kind of infer what the next step here is?
That's a really hard one for a CMP examiner to go with. I will say that you send that to another one for a conflicting opinion. I can almost guarantee you they're going to go with what the second examiner says, but that's just me without seeing anything, like knowing more about you. I will say that. But usually when this happens, I'll usually get a conflicting opinion, medical opinion request. That's just on our side, but Raider.
So for this one, the best way to effectively tackle this is to go to your VSO, get a copy of both medical opinions, go to a primary care provider of some kind, and then have them weigh in on your specific instance and why medically it makes more sense that one is more true than the other, and why it is, and provide diagnostic tests and provide, show weight progression over time after knee injury type stuff. Like, you need to fix this with science and medical evidence in order to present it to a new CMP examiner. Jackie, would you find that to be persuasive if a new medical doctor approached that? Like, if you received evidence in their Capri records that their primary care doctor said, hey, wait a minute, I've read both of these things, and this other one here that's less likely than not is not actually accurate because of, and then they list off all this medical evidence to support how obesity itself was caused by the knee. Because for the most part, that's all they can pretty much. That's the weakest link for me for the intermediate step, is that what caused the obesity is going to almost always be the harder of the two to prove.
Yeah.
What do you think? I don't know.
I mean, number one, if it's your primary care and they know you the best, they know your story, they have your history, they can really provide that, that detailed information. Now, that all is saying and assuming that they did do that properly, rather than just, because a lot of times people will get private medical opinions and then they turn them in and they wonder why it gets, trumped by, they're like, my psychiatrist or I'm sorry, that's not a good one. My neurologist provided a medical opinion on this. And the CMP examiner said no. And then I don't know, either they deemed it insufficient, the private one or whatever. And it's not so much like in real life, yes, like that neurologist's opinion does trump the CMP examiner. But a lot of times what I see, at least, is from medical opinion standpoint, regardless of what specialty they are, they don't have the disability compensation and pension medical opinion specialty experience, where they don't know all of the elements that need to be in that medical opinion. So they might not get detailed, or they might not get, meet the requirements of that medical opinion. But, to answer your question, if it was and it met everything and he actually did supply all of that evidence and explain it, yes, I would definitely go with that. And I'd be convinced of it. I mean, I wouldn't just go based off of whatever the CMP examiner said, because half the time.
What really sucked here, and I'm going back to the hearing yesterday on the VA disability exam fraud, is there's a key factor here, is that this veteran, the best course of action is to get a medical opinion from your primary care. There's an access. What is it called? You might be less fortunate, right, that to even have access to a primary care, or you use the VA and they just outright refuse to do it. And so now there's this inability to access what you need to be service connected. And so, yes, there is absolutely DBQ, Nexus letter mills, and claim companies. And by the spoiler alert, they're usually entangled together somehow, some way. for 2 cents there. But yes, that needs to be handled. Also, there's a need for private medical opinions and private DBQs for those whose only access to care is the VA, who then refuses to complete a VA form, right? DBQ. I'm not even talking about Nexus at this point, just a DBQ for that disability, and the veteran's left there between a rock and a hard place, you know? And I think that's another reason why I didn't like the VFW's approach, because no one was advocating for the veteran, given if that bill were to go through. It was like, okay, well, who's going to stand up for the veteran? The VFW just wants, their grant money because they're service officers. And I can just go on and on and on about that.
Yeah, you do not want to trigger me on that one, because I have my own opinion on that. But
yeah, it just sucks. There's a limitation of access here that I think applies to millions of veterans, without a doubt.
I just find it ironic that if they were on top of their game, there would be no claims companies. There would be no claims sharks. There would be no private DBQ. Because they would be putting forth, they would have educated, competent individuals. And I'm not saying that people that are VSOs are not educated or competent, but they fight an uphill battle with training. And I just find that exceedingly frustrating that those people with the most access to make changes make none of the changes that are needed to make meaningful changes in veterans' lives. And it frustrates me.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, that's on all levels too, though. Like, if they would actually fix the system, they wouldn't need the private. They wouldn't have. There's a reason why they exist. Exactly what you said.
Yeah.
And I mean, it goes on every single level. That's the issue, is that it's not one part of the system that is broken. It's every single part needs grease.
It's a necessary evil.
Chugging grease bad, because we're all rusted bad. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, maybe we should go to the Hill one day. Who knows?
I'm down.
Hey, we could walk there if you want to.
Just have a TV there with my
whatever. I don't care. I'm like, let's
we
go.
could rent those DC scooters and just scooter in like a bunch of,
They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear what we have to say. Because if they did, they'd have to admit that the process is broken, that people with 6-figure salaries whose day job is to fix these kind of issues, don't understand the issues themselves, let alone how to fix it. Nobody would accept that.
Yeah. Like the representative for the VA yesterday was just lost in the sauce. I don't even know.
I feel so bad for that lady.
Like, you know what? You got tagged, and she woke up that morning and was like, "This is going to be the worst day of my life."
And ended the day thinking the exact same thing. Where's the nearest bar? She looked hammered, like just destroyed. I feel bad.
But then honestly, though, like, that's on her. I'm glad it happened to her, because why do you not know? Why don't you go and talk to anybody? Like, if you really want to be a good leader, lead. Like,
she's not a leader. Like, she got voluntold.
Yeah,
Papa Bear didn't show up. Papa Bear's the leader. Like, he's the only one that has the authority to do pretty much anything. Everybody else has to. Can I go sit down? Okay, I can go sit down. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go sit down now. Like, they don't have any power.
But then what are they doing at their job? Like, what is their job then? Like, they should know about these things. I mean, make yourself aware.
I need you to go to Congress and get yelled at for me, because I just don't have it in me today. All right, thank you.
I can answer that. They are so tied into party lines and admin lines that they would rather protect others' interests instead of get down to business here. And you could probably imply from there. Yeah. Anyways, that's
right, let's do this. Yeah, let's do this.
I have HX. What is HX? I know DX is diagnosis.
History. Yeah, history of it. Yeah.
Nasal septo surgery with chronic rhinitis, service connected. Okay, good news. Now I have chronic rhinitis and sinusitis with sleep apnea requiring CPAP. I'm eligible for Pact Act. What strategy should I use? Is my first claim got out in 2005. So I'll just do the first portion of this. As far as presumptive goes, assuming you are eligible for presumption, rhinitis and sinusitis, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. You already connected. Just get the diagnosis for sinusitis. That's easy day. Okay. Symptoms become a little different. on sinusitis with failure of treatment. Sleep apnea, on the other hand, is something totally different, not Pact Act related, looking at secondary service connection, which Jackie just put out the best secondary sleep apnea video ever.
I did another one.
Exactly.
I feel bad here.
The one most recent, right?
So the one most recent was PTSD with sleep apnea, and this one, and I did one exactly on this one, which is the chronic rhinitis or sinusitis with that sleep apnea being that secondary. But the biggest thing with this, and I could just reiterate my video, but I can tag that too later. But you're obviously like, if you're eligible, obviously file for that rhinitis sinusitis, but keep in mind that they rate that rhinitis based off of how much obstruction that you have and polyps and things like that. And that septal surgery, that is going in there and cleaning it out and straightening everything out. So more than likely your rhinitis rating is going to be a lot lower than that sinusitis rating, if I had to guess. So you would want to be strategic about which one you chose to put as that primary condition, because it would make more, plausible medical sense, I guess, for whatever one is more severe, whatever one is more obstructing, whatever one is causing, more of that inflammatory response to be the one that you use as that primary. So you just have to be strategic about it. But I mean, it's a good one. I would do it.
Yeah. Raider, do you want to add or move?
Okay. So this has a couple pet peeves in there. The Pact Act is not a thing. Like, I understand it's a law, right? Yeah. But when you say I am eligible for the Pact Act, that could mean that you're a Vietnam veteran. For the Pact Act changes to Vietnam era veteran. It could mean that you were a basically a peacetime veteran in which Terra now opened the door for you. It could mean that you were a first Gulf War veteran in which you get a certain set of locations that you could potentially get presumptive conditions for, or you could be after a certain period of time Persian Gulf veteran in which more areas are open to you. So it doesn't actually answer any of the questions, but so you have to be careful with saying that I'm eligible for the Pact Act, because there were so much like just things done with the Pact Act that, like Terra became a thing. So I agree with Jackie on the nasal septal surgery type situation. Rhinitis is probably going to be lower because you either don't have obstruction or polyps. Sinusitis, yes, that could be a thing. Sleep apnea due to any one of those things is not something I've seen it granted in somebody's record before, but you're riding in on a unicorn. Most of the time, in my personal experience, I've never had the opportunity to ever grant somebody for sleep apnea due to sinusitis, because the examiners come back and say he can breathe through his nose. This has nothing to do. Apnea has nothing to do with it. And I know, Jackie, I'm not making a medical determination. I'm just that
I know. I see it. No, I know.
There's resistance to this thing, and with Raiders, they become conditioned to it, to where, oh, okay, so sinusitis and rhinitis are going to come back probably negative, or they're looking for it to come back negative. It's got to be due to weight gain, right?
Yep. So, and that's the problem. And that exactly what you said about how Raiders become conditioned to it. So do examiners. So examiners that will automatically go right off the bat and go, obesity. But then you look at the person and you have to also think that person's BMI might be a little bit heavy. However, they have, increased abdominal girth or whatever, every day, increased abdominal girth or whatever it may be. But what about that neck circumference? Is it really that big? Is it whatever? Yeah. It's like you have many different factors that factor into what causes sleep apnea. And it's not a question of, how many obese people do you know that doesn't have sleep apnea and vice versa? How many very slim men have it? So you can't say that. It's a really big pet peeve of mine with examiners. I will say, if you're watching this and you are an examiner, y'all, please do better with that, because you have to stop. Honestly, it's laziness. It is laziness whenever you automatically resort just straight off to obesity every time. And you're looking at that person and you sit their BMI is 27. Come on, that, it drives me nuts. So that's my kind of sit off on that, but dig harder, be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that medical rationale, right? Like that's what the rater loves to see is how you just explain that. Like, this is the current circumstances for this veteran. I don't care what you say, but as long as you say something, I'm down for it. I'm down for it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a jam. I can get down to this, like type thing. But it's when they don't say anything, good or bad. That's whenever the rater's going to take issue because we don't feel comfortable with rubber stamping something where it's going to get us an error, a quality error. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I was going to say, when I'm recommending sleep apnea secondary, your situation will dictate what the primary is as far as the claim, like the veteran claim side of the house. I would look at every option, right? I see veterans sometimes get tunnel vision because they saw one video talking about rhinitis, sleep apnea secondary. I'm just like, okay, well, what else is going on? Like you might be 300 pounds and that's a huge factor right there that you're just going to completely ignore. You might have severe PTSD with symptoms that have risk factors relating to sleep apnea, right? So I would just take a step back, look at your entire picture and say, okay, what does my evidence tell me? One of the common questions I get on this platform, I'm sure Rater, you get them too, is, how should I submit this claim? A, B, C. And it's not that you just this one. Your evidence will dictate, it won't suggest, it will dictate how you submit your claim. And you shouldn't be submitting claims if you don't know how to submit it. And it forces you to look at your own evidence, which then you'll know your evidence. So when you go talk to a CMP examiner, you know exactly what's coming out of your mouth anyways.
And I agree with that. But there are internal biases. As Jackie, you well know that like when we're talking about sleep apnea, there are internal biases that have to be factored in too. So like if an examiner says, well, I think it's due to his weight gain or her weight gain, lean into that. I always say lean into that and use that. But there, like behind the scenes, like honest truth here, there are certain biases against certain medical causalities. And it makes no sense sometimes, and it doesn't have a medical rationale behind it. It's just the boys club doesn't agree with this. And it's one of the things that drives me up the wall. But I don't know.
I think it's also just like not staying up to date with literature and refreshing yourself. A lot of older examiners or just practitioners in general, the oldest, known etiological cause for sleep apnea, we didn't know what it was. It was just obesity. So, that's what they're sticking with. So.
Old people, man. Okay.
Yeah,
old people. Older.
No. Oh, wow. Seasoned.
All right. I had a exam for 8 different conditions, and I was with the CMP examiner for less than 15 minutes. Okay. After receiving my decision, I noticed several things were missed. Is there a way to remedy this? First, I want Jackie, can you just talk about time because we talked last stream about migraines and how generally it's a fast exam, there's nothing to it. What would 8 different disabilities, you're the CMP examiner, is there a time where it would be 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes?
For 8 different conditions, that's absolutely impossible. Number one. Number two, you also have to look at as well. Those 8 conditions could have all been on that. Like you could have had lumbar spine, low back pain, blah, 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 all on the same one. And you're counting them all as different conditions when really it's just one thing that we're examining. That's number one. But still 15 minutes is that's crazy. But I will also say you'll have to keep in mind, what are they like assessing? I said this last time, but like, what are they assessing for during that exam? So like hypertension, that's not going to be a long exam. All you're doing is 3 blood pressures and telling me your functional loss. But like, really, that doesn't matter. It's just those 3 blood pressures, and they're going to look at your history, look through your records, yada, yada. So that would be hypertension. Another one that would be super easy, that's quick, would be, a sinus exam as well. Like any sinusitis rhinitis is pretty quick because the actual portion of the DBQ that is pertaining to you, per se, is very limited. IBS, that's another one. So, it just really depends on what it is. However, with that being said, 8 different conditions, that's insane. But you can't really judge it off the time. I hate that.
Yeah.
Not real.
What's the remedy, Raider?
Well, if they're service connected, that's also a factor too. Increased exams require a lot less stuff. So we have to kind of qualify this here. So it's as long as it needs to take. But how you would remedy that is you can call into the 1-800-827-1000 number and also submit a 4138 discussing the deficiencies with the examination that you had. Now, there are risks for this, obviously. If you are like, you're basically saying, hey, look, it's an insufficient exam. Now, the rater doesn't have to take that, but they can actually send it back for an additional examination, especially if the DBQ itself looks rushed. If not all the rationales for, like, let's say we're trying to service connect it and they just kind of give you a blanket answer and they don't actually go into detail, that can be it. But actually identifying the deficiencies with the examination can help you, if anything, with the rater, and not with the rater, then during a higher level review going, hey, look, I even pointed this out during my, before the claim was even adjudicated, that the examination was only 14 minutes long, and that's not enough time to adequately assess me. Hence why I was denied. Now, the only problem with that is, let's say that they were going to grant you and give you a bunch of things. Like, let's say that they went the opposite way with it, and they're like, no, he gets everything. Nope, 100%. Then you kind of shoot yourself in the foot. So sometimes I say, make the statement that you disagree with the length of the exam and that it was too short, to provide an accurate assessment or evaluation of your symptoms. And then if need be, you can do a higher level review.
And just to end it off, try not to focus on the amount of time that you were in there more so than the substance, like the substance of the exam. Did they ask the right questions? That's why it's really important to know what you're being examined on and the elements of what actually matters in the exam to be examined, like range of motion per se, versus how far can you walk around the block. Yes, that matters, but as long as I did that range of motion, that is one of the keyer things. Now, this is like, I'm like prefacing that, take that with a grain of salt, but don't focus too much on the time. It doesn't matter all the time, because you could be in there for 2 hours and then not do nothing.
Yes,
all right.
and
Go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to address I like seasoned veterans myself. I know that the salty old Marine was in here, so we definitely want to make sure that we are respectful to our seasoned veterans here. I am always respectful to my seasoned veterans.
Yeah, anytime I say old, that guy gets really mad at me.
Older.
Yeah, it's okay. I will.
I like seasoned.
I'll just say old. It's okay. Hi, all. I'm IU P&T for 8 years. Is it worth going for 100%? So you will be amazed how many emails I have with this exact question. Here's your answer. Is one, and you got to be careful, okay? Can you work? Because if the answer is yes, you shouldn't be on IU. All right, and that's just it, plain. Can you work? Two, when I say can you work, I'm talking like 40 hours a week above that poverty threshold, which is like 15.3 or something. Two, if the answer is yes, how long do you think you can hold a 40-hour week job? Like, you're on IU for a reason, or you committed fraud. It's one of the two. You're either on it or you're committing fraud. There's no in between. The amount of veterans that go to prison for disability fraud are IU. That's the majority of veterans that go to prison for fraud are IU veterans, meaning that you could work. For example, this dude, Jeremy Harrell, went to prison on IU because he volunteered 40 hours a week, right? And so the question is, can you work? You answer that first. Second is, okay, how long can you hold that 40-hour week per job? And if you really want to, get back to the 50s and just go back to the factories and start working, then sure, go for it. But just know you're risking your IU, right? And IU for 20 years means nothing. It just means you're IU. There's no protection for IU. You can call it IU P&T if you want, but it means nothing. Raider, do you have any? I say it forward for a reason so that we're talking prison time here. I'm not joking about that. That's why I was as direct as I was there, because I see it all the time.
I think that I like a break glass in case of emergency type situation. So for me, I think it's good to continue to strengthen your claims for potentially getting a natural, what we call a natural 100%. But if should the legislation start turning against IU, then yes, I think that you should break glass and start doing it. Do I think that you should start touching stuff now? No, I do not, especially with the new changes to the M21 manual for acute and transitory.
Yeah, that's a
Like
big one.
you could raise something to issue that was service connected historically under guidelines that were much more favorable to the veterans versus the current environment in which if you have, sleep apnea due to sinusitis and your sinusitis isn't chronic, then that could put that claim in jeopardy due to it being transitory in nature.
Both of them, sinusitis and sleep apnea, just to be clear.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, like if your sleep apnea was situational, then that would be a transitory condition under the legal sense, not the medical sense. And I see Jackie wanting to rip my face off right now.
I'm laughing at the comments, at the old comments, the old. I'm old. What's considered to be old? Can you upload? They said, can you upload your videos from TikTok for all of us old? Yes.
I'm going to agree with that, Jackie. I don't tick the talk because I will probably hurt myself and fall out of the chair.
Well, all of like the CMP exam people that I see, I tell them, I'm like, hey, like you can just go watch videos, I'll do videos. So they are like, what's TikTok? And I'm like, God dang. They're like, do you have Facebook? I'm like, yeah, I have Facebook, but like I don't post anything on there. And they're like, what about YouTube? I'm like, God,
you got the MySpace.
It is a different audience over here. We'll just say
that. So I don't know, but it's
in turn when I go to TikTok and I see comments. For one, I don't care about TikTok, but when I do post and people comment, I'm just like, yeah, the audiences are different.
Fire. Yeah.
And I mean that not in a nice way. For that, anyways. What is
I have a tougher crowd. Let's just be honest. Like I have to convince the people that think they really know everything.
Yeah.
On the TikTok-y.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because all these
we got all the old people over here, okay? And I have analytics to prove that. I have analytics to prove that, okay? So when I say old, I mean older than me.
My audience is 55 to something too. Like it's like 55 to 70. I think that's like the range that they have. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Seasoned veterans are starting to get on TikTok. They're getting more hip. Okay.
Bunch of know-it-alls. All right. What is the likelihood that a direct fear-based PTSD claim would cause an already service-connected disability to be reviewed, and what reasons would they do it? What? Raider, do you? That's my response. Is what?
Okay.
What's your response?
So because it's fear-based has a liberalizing law of 2021 in which it's almost a quasi-presumptive. As long as you served in an area in which qualifies under fear of hostile military or terrorist activity, then that is its own lane, right? There is no secondary for that. Like you can't just say, I've got sinusitis, which caused hostile fear of terrorists. I had terrorists due to my sleep apnea. You can't do that. So unfortunately, this wouldn't drag anything into it. What happens with a lot of veterans where they get this fear from is in their personal statements or credible lay statements or spousal statements, they'll talk about something offhandedly that raises something to issue. Like I have my PTSD, which causes, I think, and then my sleep apnea gets worse. And it's like, if that information is submitted on the same day as the claim, the VSR has a duty to assist to interpret what you're trying to claim increases for or claim things for. So it's best in this situation that if you're going to talk about the PTSD, you keep it to the PTSD. You don't talk about anything else. It's hard. I've put out a video on that type thing where,
we have very strong over here, guys.
Yeah, and I want to reiterate what you said. I think we talked about it recently, Raider. Fear-based is specifically hostile, right?
Yeah.
And I think you said specific, like if you're on Fort Hood shooting, Doesn't
It doesn't count. No, it doesn't count.
It is hostile terrorist, and so you have to look at how things
Yeah.
are labeled, and so
And it's
that
not
can got you in the butt. But the good news is, like for Vietnam era folks who have fear-based claims,
it counts.
easy peasy. It is a terrible situation to even submit fear-based claims to begin with, but it is a very, very good position to be in because it is a slam dunk claim when you have a verified stressor of fear-based induced PTSD. So that's a you're going to win that every day. Are DBQs by VA C&P examiners safe? I know exactly the context of this question. Also, how important are stressors for PTSD? Jackie, out of curiosity, whenever we talk about the hearing, do you know what we're talking about yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's looking at reviewing DBQs from private DBQs, not C&P examiners. So yes, your VA C&P DBQ is safe, assuming the examiner wasn't on drugs.
Okay. The safe, not safe thing is subjective and relevant.
It
has to do with think about all the
from the context of the hearing yesterday. So,
I mean, I get that, but it's impossible to say for certain because look at the Philadelphia person where the authorizer rubber stamped thousands upon thousands of the claims where the C&P examination might not have been accurate. The rating might not have been accurate. So unfortunately, I'm going to vote that you can't be certain of anything ever, right? You don't know what you don't know. Unfortunately, is it safe in the context that we're talking about? Yes. But I fear that, I don't like to. I don't know. This is just me. And I'm being
say it. No, go
cautious.
ahead. Go ahead.
Is that if you listen to Doug Collins, the VA's putting out claims faster than they ever were, and they're the best claims ever. They're the strongest claims. They're the most accurate claims. Everybody's just having a great time. But if you actually read, look, watch, listen, and understand the process, you'll know that there's shenanigans going on all over the place. And behind the scenes, my regional office was part of one of these VISN special projects type things where we had to fix thousands of claims in which raters didn't they changed how the total knee and hip replacement, the amount of convalescence time. Well, there were thousands of claims that got rated wrong. So we had to go back through it. Yeah, there's no IG report. Every time you see an OIG report, somebody's got to go back and fix it. And some veterans at the other end of that going, what do you mean you're changing it? What? I thought I was safe. And, OIG finds stuff all the time. And it typically has nothing to do with what the veteran's doing. It has to do with what the VA's not doing right. And that's, I don't know, sorry.
Yeah. Well, they had the one where they sent out a bunch of, I guess, exams were going to be deemed inadequate because of the examiner not being trained in Gulf War Pact Act stuff at the time.
Stuff, yeah.
And I mean, that's a big period of amount. I mean, when they first rolled that out, we were doing, those are the easiest ones whenever everybody was turning in presumptive conditions. I miss those days. They don't do that anymore. But it's how many of those claims are going to be redone? Is that a thing? Is that not? Was that rumors? What was that? That makes a big difference.
Yeah. I want to be clear here. During the hearing, the VA said it's about 1 million private DBQs that this tool will go through. And so that was specifically talking about private DBQs, which are not DBQs completed by C&P examiners. I posted a highlight video today, and that at least 100 comments with the same question. So I hope they are watching it, but they probably aren't, and I'll answer it 100 other times. Are not favorable findings what was proved or acknowledged? Favorable finding is satisfying an element. That's it. You're diagnosed, favorable finding. You have the in-service treatment, favorable finding. You have a primary service-connected disability, favorable finding. You rate a TERA exam, favorable finding, which is basically useless for you to know. That's all it is. Rater, do you want to add to that?
And they're true until they're not.
Yeah.
So if your condition is acute and transitory, guess what? Yes, you had a diagnosis, but tomorrow you might not have one. See, this is a frustrating thing about like the goalpost being moved all the time, is because you can have that. Your Terra exposures. Well, the VSR can come along and change your Terra memorandum to where that favorable finding is no longer true. So like favorable findings that was true at that time. There's a reason why they have to be revisited every single time you do a supplemental claim for something that was denied, because favorable findings are only attributed to things that were denied. You have to submit the evidence proving those things again. That is best practice. Never fall never trust fall that those favorable findings will ever be accurate in the next claim. You have to always submit your evidence as if you never did it originally. And I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, from Jackie, do you like if someone's on an appeal, do you, from your CMP examiner lens, do you know they are appealing that decision, and so the exam is for a supplemental claim, for instance?
Yeah.
And does the VA give you access to any previous documents from the original denial claim that was adjudicated?
So, I mean, yes and no. Like, I will say that I only know what they send me. So I can only say that for the most part, what I need is usually there, because I know what I need, like what I'm looking for, why they got denied. I'll kind of like research that on my own. And I know what documents I guess I'm looking for, but for the most part, if they don't send it, I don't know that they had it in the first place. So that's something that I try to ask the veteran, like what happened first time. I'll ask them that. I don't know if we're even supposed to do that, but I do, because I like to get like the background of like what went wrong the first time, so we can make sure that doesn't get repeated. And then also just like, you could just look at the exam scheduling request. Now, mind you, this another caveat, Raider, is that they don't always provide us with the exam scheduling request. And whenever I ask them, hey, I need the exam scheduling request, they say, this person doesn't have one. I'm like, how's that possible?
Yeah, exactly. Because you wouldn't have an examination without an examination scheduling request. And,
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think that would skew, if you had the information per denial for the original adjudicated claim that was denied, do you think that would skew your opinion at all if you saw another contracted examiner's opinion?
Yes.
That resulted in the denial?
That is true. I'll speak. I don't read them usually because they're not always the best, and it kind of confuses me sometimes. Like, again, I always kind of go into an exam, and I told you this last time, I don't always read all the medical records. I'll tell you probably 99% of the time I don't read all the medical records before I go in there, because I try to give you guys a fair shot, and I try not to have any bias when I go in there. I'll review it with you while I'm in there. I'm obviously going to review for hours afterwards, trying to find whatever I need to find. But with that being said, I'm not going to try to do anything that's going to like give me some influence or make it their bias where there shouldn't be. But definitely, I'm sure that, I mean, some examiners copy and paste old medical opinions, and
yeah.
But yeah.
Not you though, because you're awesome.
No, I mean, I just think, I don't know.
That was genuine. No, I mean that. You are.
I'm trying like to.
The examiners I've had exams with do not have your mannerisms. Let's just say that.
I think it's just crazy to me, because I have so many around in my area, like literally one in the same complex as me that is just like me. So it's just like, I don't know.
Maybe it's a Louisiana thing. I don't know.
Yeah, we're just Southern. We're so nice.
Virginia people. Virginia is technically in the South, but not near DC. Anyways, the VA Connect. Well, the VA connects secondary to my PTSD under the duty to assist. Well, the VA connects secondary. Okay, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
I think you're saying you have a duty to. You did an HLR. They did a duty to assist error. It's a PTSD claim. Will they connect it? I don't know. We'll have to find out and see.
No. The answer is no to that, because, and I'll just break it down here. So basically, PTSD typically cannot be secondary to something else, and if it is, you have to explicitly claim it's secondary. There is no duty to, like, the duty to assist is for, like, if you claim, if you claim something directly and we find that you qualified for TARA, we're supposed to get a medical opinion for that. The duty to assist doesn't typically count for secondary unless you explicitly claim it's secondary to a primary condition. Also, PTSD is not typically a secondary condition to anything. So there's not like, that's not in, like on the main path of what a VSR would go, oh, I should infer that this, PTSD is secondary to my toenail fungus. Like there's not going to be very many situations in which that happens. So no, it's not going to be something that PTSD is almost never. I can't even think of a situation in which PTSD would be raised to issue as a secondary under the duty to assist.
I think he's talking about claiming something secondary to PTSD, because like secondary to my PTSD.
Okay.
The English is not Englishing at all.
That's fine.
So maybe ask the question again, and I'll catch it at the bottom, because you did a super chat, and I don't want to leave you hanging. Yeah. So just ask the question.
But even so, like there are some DBQs that have built-in secondaries, like the spine, the neck. They have built-in secondaries for radiculopathy. The diabetes mellitus has built-in complications that have a built-in secondary to them. PTSD doesn't have that, because the only other condition that can probably come up due to PTSD would be maybe like an eating disorder that can be separately granted. But I mean, technically that's the only thing I can think of. But.
Yeah. Post CMP question. This is boom, nailed it again. Is this? Oh no, I was an idiot. Okay. Are VA appointment notes auto visible to Rater VSRs, or do I need to keep uploading new notes as I continue to have appointments BDD but see VA doctors? Rater, I already know you have your answer for this one on BDD claims.
No, there's no automatic pull for BDD. Anything pre-discharge, you've got to hand jam it in there. If you don't do that, the VA is not going to pull it until after you've discharged plus 1 day. In general, the VSRs pull one time whenever you submit your claim. Like that's how evidence is pulled. It's pulled at the date that we receive your claim. It gets pulled at that time. It's supposed to be pulled subsequently before the examination, just to make sure, especially if there's if you're missing like a current diagnosis for something, they should re-pull your evidence, but it doesn't happen a lot of the time.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to find our guy's other comment here. New member, I believe that's from your channel.
Okay, cool.
Rater. So
okay, TX King says
cool beans on that one. And Rogue Goblin Gaming says denied for cervical spine, thoracic spine pain, and upper lower radiculopathy. It's a lot of spine going on there. Doctor is writing a letter stating those are due to service. Will that letter be sufficient for a supplemental claim? It's new and relevant evidence, I can tell you that. So as far as submitting the supplemental, you got that going for you. But there's a lot happening as to why you were denied in the first place, and how is the new and relevant evidence going to combat that reason for denial? Because these are like direct claims more often than not. And so I'm curious as to how your doctor specifically is going to overturn a direct service connection when I assume you don't have the in-service event. You didn't meet that element, probably assuming it's direct. So that's a difficult one if it's direct. Secondary is a whole other ball game. But what do you got?
Take it, Jackie.
I mean, it depends on what's in the letter. First off, like again, it has to be valid. It has to make sense. And then also, for me, I mean, I don't know what the denial was for, though. So I think that's like the biggest thing that I'm missing is like, what was the denial? What was the reasoning behind the denial? Did they state you didn't have a diagnosis? Did they state that you just didn't have a connection to service? Like, what was it for? I don't really know exactly what it was that was the issue. Maybe add that on there because that would help. Because for me, like service connection per se, like if you didn't meet all the elements and you add an element and it makes sense, then I can give a positive opinion however you were trying to service connect it. If the issue was maybe that you didn't have your diagnostics ordered, like say we had this conversation yesterday with the MRI situation. I can only order an X-ray. I can't order an MRI or a CT scan. So if you say that you have a, some type of degenerative disc disease, but I don't have any evidence of that, I order an X-ray, it comes back completely normal. The reason why is because it's not the gold standard test, and it's not always going to be showing some, minor disc loss. So you have to kind of weigh it. And then also making sure that you have that evidence in your chart. I don't have the evidence. If I don't have the evidence, I can't make it up. So I don't really know why you got denied. But
I would bet money it's direct service connection, and there's just a lack of an in-service event, because I assume you wouldn't submit these claims, two different spine, upper and lower spine claims without a diagnosis. Although veterans do some wild stuff, giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
I don't think you would submit that. Anyways, we've been going on for almost 2 hours. It's dinner time at my house. My in-laws are here, Mimi and Pop. We have friends over. Big birthday party happening this Saturday. It's Lord of the Rings themed. Okay. I'm planning it. I'm happy, but I got to go eat dinner or else I get in trouble with my wife. And then I got big problems. So I'm going to end the stream now. Are we cool with that?
What they got to eat? We coming over?
I don't know, but my wife's family's from Alabama, and they just make the best, like Betty Crockett style, just butter food. So I just can't wait.
Butter
they're from Tuscaloosa, so they're, I guess, not too far from Louisiana. Anyways,
we don't make the same type of food, so I wasn't going to comment on that. But
no, you guys eat like crawfish, and basically you're cannibals of the sea, and you guys should repent and stop eating that food. Anyways, no, I'm kidding.
Stop fighting.
All right.
Stop fighting.
Raider HQ, Jackie. I will link y'all's channels down below here before we go. But do you have any parting words you want to say to everyone while I do this?
I love y'all. Don't hate me. I promise I'm not mean. That's it.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come on. I always appreciate talking about veteran stuff. I know we didn't get to all the comments, and I am sorry for that. I will try.
There's over 1,500, just so you know.
I know, but guys, like, that's the thing that you have to understand that we're trying to hit the macro amount of comments. So look for other comments that we have answered. Maybe that helps out with yours, and we're gonna try. I try to answer as many comments as I can. I've got a live stream coming up on Saturday. Ask your comments there, or we're gonna try to get Jackie on YouTube. I think.
I'm on YouTube. I'm on YouTube. I post my video.
The short games. Let me give you some advice, Jackie.
I don't know anything about YouTube, and I don't know how to. It's production. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Like turn your camera sideways.
Listen, I've helped many YouTubers, even people I don't even know. You send me a message, we can get your YouTube started. It is a lot easier than you think, but
people comment and they saw them.
It's more of a commitment than TikTok is. I just want to let you know that.
You think so?
YouTube does a good job at forcing you to be an employee if you're going to be under the partnership program. And I can explain that more so in detail. I'm trying to find your TikTok so I can put it in here, but I can't. Yeah.
It's literally just RH for veterans. It's the exact same thing.
Well, it's just TikTok, and it's impossible to search.
Right now, like, I feel like my TikTok is a full-time job. Like, I focus more on that than I even do, like, I see veterans anymore. Like, because I'm constantly replying. Like, my inbox is like every day I have 100 plus, like hundreds.
You would do very well.
I remember those days.
You would do very well on YouTube.
I don't know what to do. Everybody's getting mad at me. And then I do lives and I have like this many comments and I'll literally like read like I'm on crack. Like I'm like, and they're like, you're not answering my question fast enough. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry.
Not that I should share this on live when I'm going to, the revenue that you would receive from ads on YouTube will
I don't make any money on
crush
TikTok.
whatever you're making on exactly.
None,
Whatever you're
zero.
making on TikTok, YouTube will absolutely crush it. But the bar is higher, and I would love to help. Here's your offer. I would love to help you set up your YouTube, and you either take it or you just say I'm an idiot, and then that's it.
Oh, I'm an idiot. I mean,
But
everybody.
you could help.
I'm a CNP examiner. Just slap it on my
You
face.
could help a lot more people on YouTube, because there's a validity type thing to YouTube where a lot more YouTube is seen as more of an educational thing, where TikTok, just subconsciously, TikTok's seen as more of a entertainment thing. And I think that you have a powerful message, Jackie. We honestly need and need more female voices in the community, to be honest with you. Like, it would be very empowering to have you on, multiple reasons, right? Because you can bridge a gap that a lot of us can't understand with the, with the CMP examiner type thing. And like you said, the reason why people get upset is because they get mad whenever you're telling a secret, and it's like, process shouldn't be a secret. It shouldn't, like, everything should be up front and on the table. But yeah, the revenue from YouTube, I mean, obviously whenever you get up to the CivDiv level, it's probably a lot better, but like, there is incentive to being on,
So you need to go on TikTok and just type in my account and watch my videos, so that you could see, I don't do fun. I think y'all were saying, does she do videos while she's dancing and give information?
Oh gosh. Well, that's the,
and I was like, no, I literally I make informative videos. All of them are informative. I teach.
I will send him your TikTok personally.
Yeah,
please. But I have to change, I guess, the way that I do, because it's very short form.
YouTube. Come to YouTube.
Yeah.
Long format. Film in landscape with your phone, post it. That's it. You can see my videos. I don't edit. You can see Raider HQ's videos. He don't edit anything.
I don't edit anything. Well, I do sometimes with dog barking, but you can
do it. Jackie, I promise you, YouTube will change your life. I promise you.
I just ramble too much. Y'all give me something that I just keep talking, and I literally will get in trouble. I will literally get in trouble.
Well, the good news is on YouTube, you'll be able to quit your job. Yeah. Let me just.
You know what? I'm just saying. This is what I'm gonna come back. I'm no longer Jackie. Okay. I'm gonna make myself a logo, and we're gonna stamp it on there, and y'all gonna forget what I look like, and then,
what you sound like.
No, I'm gonna have a whole production. Remember, he said he's gonna teach me how. So we're gonna get a mic.
I will. I absolutely will. Do you take me up on it?
I will. I've been saying that I wanted to do it, and I said that for the longest time whenever I was going to do TikTok. And I don't want to make this long because I know you got to go. But
just my wife getting mad at me, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
You could call my husband and y'all could complain about it together, because I promise you, I'm probably going to get the same thing when I get off of here. But I didn't want to come on at all on TikTok, and I got really mad, and I had a veteran crying in my office, and I was like, you know what, screw this, and I just went, I sat down. So that's what I need to happen.
Just set effective boundaries. That's
I'm not good at that.
Just up front, set effective boundaries and just be like, look, I'm going to answer questions within the live stream. You could do live streams and you could literally just answer. I'm going to answer the questions until I stop answering them. And I'm sorry if you can't get them, get to the thing earlier. I'm going to just do it here and there. But effective boundaries are going to be what prevent you from feeling guilty. Because I understand that feeling where it's I'm trying to help as many people as I can, and I start losing my way, my personal way, because I'm overextending myself. And so I get that, but personal boundaries are where you're going to need to go.
Hey, can you answer this in 1 minute? I'm sorry. Answer this and I'm going to end the stream. Okay. Raider.
Okay. Yes. All right. Here's what you do. You file a new claim and claim SMC S1. That's what you do. You file a new 526EZ and just claim. Do not claim the conditions because you don't want to reopen them. Claim SMCS1, and then that will put that issue specifically at issue, and it will not drag the others into it, so you don't have to worry about them being adjudicated again.
Yep. All right. We love you, everyone.
Have a good one.
Okay, hey, I'm out. Bye.